just want to thank you for having me here today. It's a privilege to be here with you, and to talk about our business and what we're doing and what we're seeing in the marketplace. So yeah, really, big part of the reason why I wanted to start Sapien, and which actually falls into like the 5 steps and how I look at things, is that I just saw a need in the market for folks. AI isn't new to us and our team, who all come from Moody's, but
welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas. Interviews with world's most influential entrepreneurs that share tips about how to grow your business exponentially. Charismatic speaking, leadership, branding, marketing strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.
5-step how to embrace technology in the financial services, including AI, especially for large companies, mid-sized to large companies from 10 million and onwards in revenue. So today we have Maribeth Martorana with us, and she's the founder and CEO of Zappian Advisors, which she leads executive and the teams turning data and into AI into real revenue driving solution with over 25 years of experience across firms like Moody, FactSet, SCFA, Institute, and IRL. So she shared how to build and scale products at the intersection of finance, technology, and innovation. So Maribeth, tell us, what are the 5 steps for financial services companies out there that the CEOs and the leading team should be taking in consideration before bringing AI and another solutions in order to help them to scale up?
First of all, I just want to thank you for having me here today. It's a privilege to be here with you, and to talk about our business and what we're doing and what we're seeing in the marketplace. So yeah, really, big part of the reason why I wanted to start Sapien, and which actually falls into like the 5 steps and how I look at things, is that I just saw a need in the market for folks. AI isn't new to us and our team, who all come from Moody's, but with everything happening so fast and there's a lot of hype, people need help, especially companies in the mid-market space to enterprise, where they may not have all the resources or folks for that. So really, I like to actually break down things very simply for folks, having worked with data and technology solutions and transformation. So what I'm actually going to steal a quote from my CTO. He always says the technology is the easy part, the people part is the harder part. And that is true with any one of these things. And with AI, it's really coming to, if you really want to do a true transformation and not just be using tools, it is actually going to change your operating layer, right? So what does that mean for the business? You really need to take a step back, and really step one, I tell people, is don't chase the solution, right? We got to look at the problem. And what does that start with? It all starts with your business strategy and your vision for your firm. So you may have a vision and a strategy, and then you have to break that down. And what that does is it gets alignment with the executive leaders and the firm. So, and it falls into 4 buckets. Increase revenues, operational efficiency, improve customer experience, and mitigate risk. And once you know that, then you can be like, hey, what are my business outcomes, and what is that? What do we want to achieve? And then what we do with folks is we then say, hey, let's go based on, let's say if it's increased revenues, what are the use cases to get you there potentially with AI? And whether it's feasible, usable, visible, gets you some quick wins, right? What are these use cases, and prioritize them, and then start to form a roadmap. Now, with the strategy, you also then get it for the business outcome. you then know what you need to do, start to do with the data that you're going to need with AI and the models and everything you're producing. And then the third step is really to really start small. It's a crawl, walk, run with all this, and to start with a pilot. Also, we bring in teams to cross collaborate and get all the ideas together as we do a pilot and get all the requirements, because different views matter to bring everything in. So compliance, regulatory from the start. And then the reason why we do that is a lot of people are having issues going from pilot to production, which is like your fourth step. Well, that doesn't happen if you don't have all those things taken into consideration. How do I really truly get this to actually go into production in the organization? And then once you get one use case done and you get it into production, really then you go into what the scaling of those things there.
Yeah. Maribeth, I personally have been asked a few times to speak about exactly how to close the gap in these big organizations between the legacy, right?
Yes.
And let's face it, sometimes you go to a bank and you see the software and it looks like from the 80s. And how come these guys are huge and still the screen looks like this? And if you dig down, sometimes, there's not even cloud computing and everything is staying a little bit outdated. The biggest challenge, and I have been this with I agree with you in terms of, let's talk about people first, because I have been through this process with my own team now using AI. And it has been an interesting process because we have to enroll them into the idea that we're not going to fire them. We need to enroll them into the idea that they need to use these things, right? And now they're using it all the time. Last time that I talked to them, I said, guys, this is this is not a toy. It costs tokens, so use it for work effectively. And pick only 3 solutions. Don't ask the thing to give you 50 for you to choose. Ask 3 is enough, and pick because otherwise all those wrong use, not wrong use, right? But if you make the thing iterate more or whatever, it costs, and at the end of the day, we pay for it. But bottom line, we have to enroll them into the idea that now, before even this podcast, we were doing everything manually, our team, right? So now they don't do manually things. Now they have a team of AI agents that everybody do the part. So now, rather than doers and employees, now they are kind of leaders. They have their own mini teams that they are leading to them. Actually, now, before this podcast, we execute some tasks, okay? And the employees would tell me, Harry, this happened because I forgot to tell my AI agent to remind me this. And I'm like, wow, finally they got it. And the good thing, Maribeth, this AI thing don't allow them to make mistakes. You see, because now they find out something is missing. They say, well, it's my fault for don't tell the agent to remind me, right? But have been a very interesting journey, and I need to spend a lot of time with the team, first enrolling them, and also change the mindset, because now they are leaders of a small, and they have like a group of AI agents doing execute, and now they have to lead the team, they have to train this team. So what are the biggest challenges, Maribeth, that you have found out there with your clients in terms of people legacy, and what is your view? Because I agree with you, it's the biggest, with your CTO, the biggest thing is people, because people don't want to change, and things have been working the way it is, especially C-levels gets even worse. They say, don't even mention it. If it works, don't touch it. And you guys, we have cloud, we have AI agents, the world is moving forward, and they don't want to touch it. So what is your biggest challenge? How you become the challenge? And what do you see in a way of enrolling people to the new way of working? Because it's what it is. AI is an amplifier, it's a new way of working, right?
The challenge of like enrolling people with new technologies is not something new, right? We've seen it before, right? It happens, like people get set in how they do their work, and then there's something new. If you think about it, I've seen it in my career where, I would work with research analysts from whomever in a bank, and they're set in their ways. They're, let's say later in their career, but then there's somebody young and they're a little bit more open to using the new tools. So it's always happened. I think the thing is to get people enrolled, which I've always taken from how we approach things with like design thinking and agile methodologies, where we do workshops, right? We bring people together and all of design sprints, right? So what are we looking to build? What are we looking to do? But if you make the people who are going to use the tools part of the solution, you get buy-in. You also get all the ideas, right? Everything makes it better. You also get all the requirements as well to de-risk your investment as you build it. So 1, it gets people in line. 2, it gets buy-in from the team. And 3, you get all the requirements. Rather than you going around to each individual, each person, you bring a team together, a cross-functional team. I tell people, bring in people from your sales department, bring in people from legal, bring them in. And a sprint can go from 3 to 5 days. And it starts with the vision and what you want to create, a series of exercises. We prototype, we get feedback very rapidly. And then you can go into more. And I think also the other thing, which is great now with AI and the tools, the ability to create prototypes and get the ideas going has sped up that process. But then again, it's the buy-in from the whole team that you need up and down the organization. And I find nothing has changed in how to do those things, but we have tools that make it faster and easier. But you still have to do that hard work, or that work up front with the strategy, with planning it out, putting it together. And the other thing you want to think about and why you want to do that and not just throw it against the wall, so to speak, is you also want to keep your identity as an organization and what is special about you. So what I see in the market, there have been, especially from the mid-market firms, I have some of them where they've been asked about an AI strategy, whether they're going to bring that in or not. And also as an opportunity to compete with larger competitors. What can I do? They can move a little bit faster, right? You talked about legacy. I mean, the large institutions have huge legacy systems. There are startups out there that have built tools or things that can be on top of the legacy. Remember, financial services, and we also deal with insurance. They're regulated industries, but they're very risk averse. So, yeah, compliance. Yeah. So all these systems have to work for them, right? Their trading floor can't stop. Their ability to underwrite, to monitor risk on their portfolios. So it may be a very like a surgical approach, right? They have an overall vision and they have to start small. They also, and this is an interesting anecdote I'll share with you, but there are actually banks that are trying to find people who know how to code Fortran and Cobalt, because these legacy systems may have to be converted. And that same thing happened back in Y2K. Where I did know people who were hired to come and do things like that for financial institutions for Y2K. So this is like round 2 of all that, in a sense. So I think it will take time. I mean, enterprise is never easy. And you also put up a good point there too about the token costs and all that. And I think one thing we try to do is, we've kind of moved with Zappian to do like education, design and implement and advise, right? Where we now say to people, the whole thing has it's a different animal, the AI solution, in the cost structure versus if you just bought a SaaS product, right? It's a per seat charge. Right, you have each person maybe building things. There's tokens, and also where do you spend those tokens, right? So when you build an AI solution, it's like your AI, your data, the UX experience, which gives you the value. And you can use internal data and you have to figure out what you have to put together there, but you also can do external data. And the AI is only as good as that data is. I'm rather biased on that opinion, strong opinions on that. And then there's the model and then the UX and all the guardrails. So what I say to people too is we do have clients who ask, well, could I collect this data myself? Could I put it together myself? And your data strategy is really a combination of external providers and internal data. But then again, you could use those tokens to collect data and resources, or do you want to have someone else do it? So your whole budget, you have to really look at holistically now. It's different than a SaaS budget for you to get there. And that's why we say start small, and especially in a regulated market and all the legacy systems, it gets more complex the larger the organization, as you know.
So, and then Maribeth, like you're referring to adding a new operational layer, and just to clarify for entrepreneurs, okay, because you might think that adding mean, oh, I have to do something more, but actually this operational layer, it will allow to 10x your operation, right? A lot of people usually they come to me, Harry, I want more clients, I need more clients, I want to grow, and the first step is always, guys, have you looked at your operation first? Because maybe maybe you want to make more profit with the clients that you have is enough. Your money is going a lot into the operation. Everybody want to grow, and the first thing, I want more clients, and they don't take a deep look into the operation. And by adding, Maribeth, because that's the other thing that happens, a lot of people fire the employees because they thought that they're going to do things with AI, and now they need to hire them back because they realize now that this is not how it works. AI is an amplifier, right? Even in my own organization, since this AI is around, I said, look, nobody's going anywhere. We're all going to learn it. We're going to embrace it. And we're going to use it as an amplifier. And to be honest, they're 10x more effective now than before because we use this. Now, few things we did, Maribeth, this operational. So we did exactly like you said.
I like that.
We added the operational layer, exactly like you described. And with the user experience, I want to ask you something. This is what we did, right? We're thinking, how can we make easy for them to adapt it, right? So we make those agents, we put faces, we put names. So they actually think that they're working, that they have a group of teams that were Peter, and they talk with these agents. We said, look, we're going to put their voice. So you talk to them and you guide them and you train them rather than, Maribeth, sometimes you give their employee like something that looks, I don't know, like a coding, and they get so freaked out. No, I'm not going to use this. So we start to think, how can we make this user-friendly for them? And we bring in the user experience, so we bring the complexity in the back so they don't see really what's going on the back. And for them, it's just ask them to the team, train them. I allow them to train some team members that they know how to train them because they have the knowledge base for it. Those other team members that they don't have the knowledge base, I'll do it personally. So in all these AI team operation, I haven't trained the whole team. I trained just a part that I have the knowledge base, and they train they have the part that they have the knowledge base because it's the job that they have been doing so far anyway, right? So it had been like a 10x productivity in that additional layer of operation that you described. So yes, you add one layer of operation, but then you have 10x in productivity and efficiency. And when it comes to numbers, it's amazing, right? We are experiencing this ourselves in our own organization. And actually, a couple of friends, they saw what we did. They have a startup on things selling over $1 million like this. And they said, wow, Harry, we want to adopt it because this is exactly what we need. So How can we educate the people about this new layer of operation and spending time, because it's really important that people to understand. So describe a little bit more, Maribeth, what
Yeah.
is really, when it comes to a big organization, what is gonna take, but what is the outcome that you can get out of this?
So I like where you're going with this, and it goes back to like my 4 buckets. And what I like too is what you just said is it actually, a lot of people, the lower hanging fruit is really the operational layer. And if you kind of free up that operational layer, we all think about it, just not even think about it with AI right now. There's probably mundane tasks you do or things you do, and you're like, okay, if I improve that, I can then do something else, right? And then I could, spend more time then on my business development, or I could reach more people if I make it more efficient with my marketing, right? And therefore I'd reach more people and I'd help my sales tunnel. So all those things you kind of take out of your workflow. And what I think, even in a small organization, what I just say to people is literally write out, like, what are your problems? Like, really, like, what are your problems? And therefore, what can we make more efficient? And then look at, okay, if I go and I solve, let's say maybe it's something as simple as, okay, it takes us a lot of time to put together presentations for a client, right? And maybe you're having client meetings, and maybe it's as simple as, I want to take the meeting, I want to have a transcription, and then I wanted to write up the meeting notes for it, and then recommend to me the next steps, the email, and then let's say one of the next steps is to create a presentation, create an outline, put that together. That could have taken you many hours, and this could then cut it down to like minutes, right? So I think you start with those, things that are there, and like also maybe the things that are taking up the most time, but also the most critical. And then you just map out literally the steps in the process, right? There's a lot of process mapping with this. And I pick something small to start with. It could be your marketing emails. It could be, right? Make it very like the things that are taking up time, and then you'll get those buckets of time, and then those will, formulate changing those things in your operations, right? And then you'll get more advanced of like the more things you can do, and then how to, knit them together. I'm big in starting like with something that's impactful, small, gets you comfortable, and then no matter the size of the organization. And I think you just start very simply, and then
you do it gradually. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Crawl, walk, run is really the way. And I think when I talk to people, like I was just even talking to somebody recently, they want to do a number of things with like making the operational piece for their sales organization easier. And that's really where they're starting first is, first they've gotten the experimentation phase, like you were talking about. And now they're actually mapping out like the work, the processes, the actual operations they want to make easier for them, right? Literally some of those things that I was just talking about. And I think that's the way to do it. And then that will get you on some movement or momentum and confidence in you, and then you can move on. That's how your operating layer will slowly change over time, because also if you fix one bottleneck, you'll then have a bottleneck elsewhere, and then that's the next one to do. Anytime with operations, the bottleneck moves. So we fix this one, then we'll fix that one, and it will just kind of move on to itself.
The company become more profitable if you can run the operation efficient, right? We are, for example, this podcast was one of the biggest. It's heavy operation and intense, because we had to take the videos, we had to put in on the social media. They have titled, they have subtitled, they have SEO components. So it's a big operation behind the production of a podcast, and the operation was intense, like time, money, even resources, right? Because all those videos they were editing the computer of my team. Now they're saying, Harry, why editing those videos all the time, right? It's now my computer is broken now, and and today everything is done in a server. So now they are doing the editing and everything. And like, Harry, this is amazing. My computer
Yeah.
is live now. It's live. I'm so
Oh,
yeah,
and then,
go
and I
ahead.
think, yeah, and I think your point about 10x is spot on, because if you think about it, if you kind of get those things out of your operating layer, oh my gosh, now maybe we could do an additional event. We can now market for this, or we can now write
Exactly.
to the newsletter. We could do a
I
blog.
free up 80% of the time. So now they're doing more tasks. And by the way, the tasks that they're doing, they're also relating with other areas of agents, AI, and everything. So that's exactly what happened. Whatever it used to take them 8 hours per day, now they're doing it in 2. So now we have an extra 6 hours, and we actually the podcast production team now, because of we embrace all these operational layers, they have 80% of the time that they can use in customer acquisition, right? So we have it's like I have an extra team of customer acquisition than because now we have time for them to focus on this before the whole time is producing
Yeah, exactly.
and in the production and make sure that everything is fine and to go to social media and everything.
No,
So
and I'll give you another
I'm a big
example. I have
fan.
like
I'm
a
a big fan of this operational thing, and I think we need to keep moving the conversation to raise awareness, because everyone, when it comes to even selling over 10 million to 100 million, everybody comes. I want more clients. I want more clients. Have you checked if you have more clients, how your operation is gonna double, and do you really don't want to have a look and and this additional layer?
Yeah. I have a good example for you of someone we're working with, is where they want to increase going from 20 deals a year to 40 deals a year. And then basically you have to extract a lot of information to do these deals, the due diligence, all of that. A great deal of work, right? And then every contract or bid for proposal takes them something like 10 hours, right? So if they want to go from 20 to 40 deals, well, you need to extract time to be able to do that, right? Or be more efficient. So the way they're going to get to that is literally from the documents, all the legal documents that have to go back and forth. This is in real estate development, is literally using AI, where we'll have like a repository of documents, extracting that information and data that they need, do the analysis, right? That going, and then adding some additional data elements. The model will be there, and then they will then have that repository and will learn over time. And then they're going to have an ability to create these contracts, put them together, and all that. So that's going to take a great deal of that operational and streamline it. It's also going to help them do better due diligence and all that for their deals. So there may be deals, even though they want to do 40, maybe they'll be able to do better due diligence and also be like, hey, I'm not going to take on this deal, or I'm going to take on something else. But they'll also be able to look for more deals later on and do more. That's how they'll get to it. So the first step is actually taking out that like operations piece that they're really struggling for, and then that will get them there.
Yes, Maribeth, and I agree, because in the property companies, right? Actually, yesterday I was talking with a fix and flip company, and then we were talking about this, that when we have analyzed that it's taking them a lot of time analyzing the deals, right? And they were telling me, Harry, we need to. I need to hire an office and employ 3 people there. And I said, no, you don't. They say,
No, they
no,
don't.
because we need to do this. We need to do this follow up. We need to take the phone calls. We have to do this due diligence. We have to do all this because they want to scale up, right? And I was saying, no, you don't. You are. Let's have a look again. The same thing. Operational layer, okay. Let's see how the operation looks like, right? the office, I don't think you need it, and probably you might need only one person, right? That leads with all the workflow all the time, which is what we are doing now. Like I only speak with our multi-agent teams, only with the supervisors and head of departments, right? And our team deal with the team of agents. They train them, they nurture them, they give them the framework, they take the result, they do their thing. If I want something global information about how the whole thing is going, I just speak with the supervisor, with the director, with the agent that is director of that operation, together with the team member, because the team member at the end of the day is leading the team, is leading the supervisor, is leading everyone on that particular department. Now, we talk about people, which is huge. Now, before you go, Maribeth, how about technology? Because when you go to these C-levels and you say, well, now you're not going to have this data in this hard drive anymore, it's go to a cloud, the people that they're going, where? And look, we're gonna have this and all these documents now they're gonna be in that server, and it's AI, and also the other thing, Maribeth, that we have related with financial services that we have to look into consideration, that sometimes the company is big enough, maybe they need to build their own LLM because private and security reasons, because sometimes, if you have the client and you have the data and this client doesn't want to change that data or that thing, if you're using any of the models out there, you are inheriting these the private policy that they have, right? And when it comes to finance, and the other thing that people should be scared, because they think, oh, like, how am I going to create my own LLM or my GPT? That's going to be expensive, and it's not.
Yeah.
And it's affordable for companies of that size, and they can have everything enclosed. Can you address the elephant in the room, especially for high regulated industries?
So a couple of things with that, I would say, and this is always the case in financial services. Financial services is a risk adverse industry, and also a competitive industry. And, for one to have their alpha or their way to, their competitive edge, they highly protect that, right? And you go back to the start with ChatGPT came on the scene, right, in 2022. And the hedge funds always tend to be first. And, having, talked to some hedge funds at the time and what I was doing, as soon as it came out, they were like, well, there is my data, and they consider even their data to the OpenAI or to Claude or what are these frontier model providers, they consider their questions even data, right, and IP. Because that's what they're paid to do, right? If you're an analyst on a fund or a portfolio manager, right? So what I've seen happen over the time here is there's been a lot of experimentation and whatnot with the tools and AI, but then also there has been a move to want to be productionized, and then as you get into the productionized, I think the asset managers and financial services firms and banks said to themselves early on, well, this is my proprietary data. How do I protect it? Right now, they were already sitting in their SharePoint files, their servers, and all that. But what they then said to themselves is, well, it's going to go into these models, and I don't want them to see all of this and to train it. So there are small language models which you can build, which some of that people are doing their own models. People talk about open source, and there's a debate there. But the thing that you're starting to see, and there are providers that do that, and we have a really good partner that we work with that has really good guardrails and privacy for regulated environments so that we can protect their data. But and they even have a solution where it can be on-prem. Believe it or not, we have clients who are talking about on-prem solutions. their own models, as well as our provider can actually take the models or any of the models that they're using, and they can put it on a server. So literally having it as an appliance. So I think what recently just came up in the news, I don't know if you saw it. There was a interview with Alex Karp from Palantir. And he talked all about, your digital identity and it going in there. And then, there was a talk about what's happened with Figma and their relationship with Anthropic, and now Claude Design has come out and it's given them, really has affected their business, adversely. So I think people have been saying for a while, those of us that have been around this even before, of saying like, hey, how do you protect, yourself, your alpha, who you are, right? There's your special sauce and you want what is special, but you don't want it to be going into this for the masses. So I think, but even a smaller organization can do that as well. There are partners that we work with to ensure that, and there's ways to do it. And also the small language models can be more affordable that we could build for them or maintain than a large language model. Like we were talking about token costs before, there's trade-offs. So there are ways to do that along the spectrum. So I think we're going to see some of this.
Cost effective.
Yes, very cost effective to do what they call a small language model. Some people are talking
we produce
about
the same results. Like, for example, now we're doing now invoices. You know what I mean? You don't need a complex LLM model to do invoices. All you speak with the agent to add the figure, the name of the company, so a few things like this. So what's the point to spend so much tokens, right?
Yeah, and I also think as the technology gets more and more advanced, right, and the scaling and all that and whatnot, and what these even smaller models can do, you don't need a big model, right? So I think also the other thing is
we're talking about large companies that do a lot of invoices. So imagine if they pay token market price is it's not competitive. It's an expense, right?
Yeah, and that's like a something that you're not going to want to spend a lot of money on, right? You want to get it right, but there may be more important things, right, that you're going to want to spend your token budget on, right? That's really what makes you different. So something like that, yeah.
So before you go, before you go, because I have a question. You talk about software as a service, and we have seen out there that the decreasing value of the software as a service industry out there, because now with the use of AI, something that was kind of impossible before and really expensive, that create a tailored software as a service solution for a specific company. Now with the embracing of AI, it's actually possible and affordable. And now companies can, like, for example, Fix and Flip company, they were telling me, Harry, well, if you're going to do this operation, we're going to do this. I need these agents, I need this, I need this, I need this. And I was thinking, wow, if she was telling me this like 5 years ago, we said, wow, this is expensive because we have to program all this and we need 10 programmers and everything. And so I was thinking how expensive this used to be before, like compare. Like now she was telling me, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. And all I was thinking, this is easy, this can be done, this can be done, this. And she was telling me, and I want the house immediately to put the price, everything, and go straight on my social media. Is that possible? I said, yeah. And I'm thinking in my head, yes, it's possible, and it's actually easy to do. But it was not always was the case. Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the thing they want to do was really expensive. You need a software developer to actually spend hours and write code and things like this. So, then your last view, I can speak with hours with you about this subject because I'm a big fan. And we know ourselves personally as well, but this topic I'm a big fan. But what is your view about software as a service versus a specific tailored solutions for a specific company over 10 million in sales, whether it's better to go there with the tailored approach, and of course, if there is a software as a service out there that can be integrated in that approach, or do you think that still there is a space for the software as a service industry out there, that somehow we have seen a decrease? As someone, I had to check that, but somebody told me that Harry has been a decrease in the software as a service space because of people now are using the AI, and they can do it. I tailor for my company myself because now it's possible rather than before. So what's your view on this?
I think a very telling thing that happened in the market, which I think he's always been very good at being out about even disrupting himself in his business, was Mark Benioff recently announced how I'm going to go, what do they call, headless? Right. So you can get now you can get Salesforce any way you would like, right? Whether you want an API, whether you want the data, whether you want an MCP. And I think that's how this is all gonna fold out long run. My background's heavily been in financial services and information providers, and I even see it in that space, right? So everybody is saying to themselves right now, looking at FactSet, S&P Global, Bloomberg, and Refinitiv, what's going to happen with their workstation product? And then if you actually go and look at those firms, they have big data businesses, and those data businesses now they have, in case your audience does or doesn't know, they're now distributing their content or their products through what they call a model context protocol, or an MCP, which actually integrates their software or their agents or their data into these models or what people are building. So I think there's going to be an evolution of these with the SaaS providers to add on these things. It's getting very interesting to watch the strategies that are going on and the products being released. So for instance, FactSet has now released their portfolio analytics engine through an MCP. Moody's is now going to put skills through their MCP partnerships. So they're taking not just their data, but they're also taking the engine from like SaaS products or their expertise and putting it out there. So I think it's becoming a new delivery mechanism.
Can be used as knowledge base, right?
A knowledge base, and that they're doing is actually what we got into earlier is they're bringing in their products into the workflow of the organization. So you may be building your custom solution, and then you need some of what they have, and it's being brought together. And even when we were talking, earlier, the whole operating model. So I think it's going to be a combination of that with your proprietary data, with what they're doing. Someone like Mark Benioff, right? You're seeing a big provider say, let's go headless. You can bring it in there because he's going to lose seats for his CRM. And he knows it's going to happen. So you might as well disrupt myself but others have not figured that out in the marketplace. How am I going to disrupt myself? One thing to give you an indicator of like some of where this is going is I do deal with like a lot of startups and whatnot and talking to folks. And I've had people talk to me like, hey, okay, this SaaS company needs to add some AI agents or whatnot. What do you think? Or I'm working with a smaller company. And now what's happening in the startup world is instead of starting with the UI layer, right, your SaaS layer, they're starting with the data layer and the data products, which is a switch. So people used to start always with a SaaS product, and now people are looking how to do data, which has better margins, higher margins, having worked on big data businesses. That's one of the beauties of it. So something for if you're an entrepreneur and thinking of starting up, you can start a SaaS product business for much less, or a product, because it doesn't cost what it did. But also a lot of people are starting now with the data side as the product and putting those into MCPs and delivery and agents versus doing the SaaS side first. And that data will then meet the operating layer of the client. So something food for thought for those starting out. And, we've worked with people about that because it's a different way But it's also opening the other thing on the data side, even for large companies. People that wouldn't be a data client are now data clients because they're building internal solutions themselves potentially. But you need to pick where you want to spend your time on those internal solutions. Like if it's an internal solution that you should own, that's going to make your difference and competitive advantage. If it doesn't, you may want to still go and get a SaaS tool, right? I think there's build, buy, and partner, right? You need to think about that in your strategy.
Yeah, I think the fintech industry still is a lot of space for growth there and for adoption. Yeah, it has been always, catching up slowly compared with other industry because of the heavy regulated industry and have a lot of compliance. So that's why the adoption of technologies is sometimes more challenging than in other industries. So, Maribeth, if someone is in love with this conversation, how people can find you, how this process works?
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Harry. You can always find me on LinkedIn, right? And then there's also, you can even contact me.
Maribeth, can you mention how they can find you in LinkedIn? Because some people might be driving or in the car listening to the podcast.
It's Maribeth, Maribeth Martorana, Martorana. Also, my email is Maribeth, Maribeth at Sapient, SAPIENT-advisors.com. So Maribeth at sapientadvisors.com.
Thank you so much, Maribeth. I really appreciate it. We have a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Big fan of the topic. And for all of you following the podcast Entrepreneurs and Leaders, see you in our next episode. How a brave entrepreneur like Maribeth make businesses that make the world a better place. Bye for now.
Great. Thank you, Harry, for having me. Thank you so much.
Follow us for more on charismatic speaking, leadership, exponential business growth, branding, marketing, strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.